Hi everyone, today let's talk about Tesla earnings. Then of course we have some stocks to go over, and as usual we'll go over my positions right now. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I've been making videos like this every single day, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So let's go over Tesla earnings real quick. They did beat on earnings. They did report a higher than expected earnings at $1.05 versus the 99 cents per share. Revenues were a little bit lower than expected, 21.45 billion versus 21.96. So they did not beat on revenue, but they did on earnings. And then non-GAAP continues to rise pretty aggressively, 55% year over year. And because of this, shares fell a little bit, down 4%. We'll take a look at the chart a little bit later. Does not seem to be holding to the downside, so that's good. And then continuing on here, you can see they reiterate that revenue is growing pretty aggressively, 55% from a year ago. And the automotive regulatory credits only made up 1.5% of automotive revenues in this quarter, so $286 million. Overall, not a bad report. It did deliver 343,000 vehicles, and production was a little bit higher than that at 365,000. They also mention here that Tesla Energy generated $1.12 billion in revenue, and this is mostly residential, commercial, utility, and solar panels. Moving over to the S&P 500, you can see down just a little bit on the day, about $5, so a little bit over 1.5% from where we closed after hours yesterday to where we closed after hours today. Not terrible. A little bit less if you use the close of the day, which was 371.30 or so. And we finished right at 368.70, so not too bad. Kind of some sideways price action, some consolidation. Did have a little bit of a dip in the midday, but it seems like we recovered from that. And there's certainly still potential for upside, and it seems like we're holding just above that support level. And to support that, you can see momentum to the downside is slowing down, and hopefully we get that nice little slingshot into tomorrow with some upside potential. Looking at the NASDAQ here, it does not look as good. Definitely have this sloping wedge here. It does kind of look like a bull flag though. This range is tightening, and we did get some solid support, which has been holding over the past couple of days. As long as we can get a nice little breakout from here to the upside, we should at least get a test of the 277 range, if not even higher around the 280 to 285 range if we do get that breakout to the upside. So still looking bullish here for me. Not a big breakdown, and the structure is still intact here on the NASDAQ. Moving over to IWM, this one looks quite a bit more ugly. We did retest that resistance at 177 pre-market yesterday, and then since then we had pretty much downward price action, getting all the way down to around 169.50 or so. Since then we did rally up even a little bit more after hours, so you could even argue that this structure is starting to form here, and it seems like we're going to push up onto that resistance and potentially get a breakthrough. Still need to wait for that to form, but you can see momentum here to the downside is slowing, and it seems like we're going to have a nice little move up tomorrow. So the move down was a little unexpected. It wasn't terrible, definitely manageable with options, and it still seems like we have potential for more upside tomorrow. Moving over here to Tesla, not a chart that I look at very often, but you can see we had a nice little upswing, topping formation with that weakness, and then we eventually broke through that weakness. You can see we gapped through the low level here, and that was a break for significantly more downside, got all the way down to almost $200 a share, and that's where we've been hanging out here recently. The day closed at around 222, and then it jumped down to 213, a little bit lower at some points, but it's holding at 213, 214 right now. This definitely looks pretty weak to me. I would expect more downside in Tesla, not something that I would be looking to trade. If it retests this lower level and we do find support, and then we can get a good bounce off of that, that would be potential to turn this bullish. But right now, this structure is super bearish in my opinion. Moving over to Lululemon, I know I've been talking about this one a lot, but this structure is pretty nice. We got strong support here to the downside. Had a little run up in the middle of the day, stronger than most indices. Bounced off of that resistance, unfortunately, but I did close at resistance here. Then we got that big down bar, so definitely a good trade, lucky trade a little bit there. I will be looking to re-enter this position either tomorrow or the next day, preferably tomorrow. But otherwise, decent trade here. Sold the lows here. Closed at resistance, made about $150 on that trade. Overall, the structure is still intact, and I expect more bullish price action from Lulu, but right now we're kind of in a holding pattern. Definitely be careful on your entries. Moving over here to XOP, I do want to highlight this because oil is still pretty bullish. It does look kind of weak right now, trading within this range, right at the top end of that range. I would be more expecting of a down move to support from where we are right now, but that's only a few dollars lower than we are at 146 down to around 141 or so. Definitely a pretty tight range here for oil, but can get in at the lows and they do hold. You also have the 144 currently swinging up to support that support line. Then if we do get support at that level and we get a breakout, then we could see a retest of maybe the 150 level, a little bit higher than where we are, or maybe even a huge upswing like something we saw over here in May. I wouldn't expect this to happen. Last time we were in that range, it was a huge down move to follow. Probably something that I don't want to happen, but definitely be cautious here. Potential trade if we get down in the if we get down to 141 again. Moving over here to DXY or the dollar, you can see we do have a lower high here. We came up and retested that same line. Hopefully we get a nice breakdown tomorrow or the next day, at least to that next level of support closer to 110. That would be great for stocks. If we do get that movement down, you can also see RSI is weakening over time here. Nice little breakdown in the dollar would be good for all stocks across the market. Moving over here to JNK. I highlight this because it does often point to the direction of growth. This is a risk indicator, and right now risk is basically flat. We're in the same position here we were in the start of September, mid-September, and then again here, middle of October. Support is still here, holding right in the middle of this range. If we do get a nice little push up to retest this resistance we got up here, that would speak well for growth, and I would expect IWM and the NASDAQ to lead the way if we get that little burst here on junk bonds. Moving over here to TLT, not much to say here. This continues to be straight downwards, potentially accelerating here as it seems like we are arcing down, kind of in the same way that we had here. Maybe another day or two of downward price action. If we did get a bounce, that would be strong for stocks, but 20-year treasuries, TLT, definitely not looking good right now as we've been in this massive downtrend. Moving over to LQD or investment grade bonds, you can see not quite the same story. These have been moving in tandem, but right now on the hourly chart, this is kind of moving sideways. Not too bad of a down move today. Did have a big gap down right through that $160 or $70 range. Then we had a nice little push up at the end of the day. Doesn't seem like this is breaking down too much further. Of course, the trend is still very strong to the downside, but signs of life here, potentially some support. We didn't make new lows like we saw here in the middle of October, so definitely keep this in mind. If we get a nice push up here, that could be strong for stocks. But if this breaks out of this range, that would be very bearish across the markets. Finishing up here with the VIX, as we always do. On the daily chart, you can see we got that hammer, got that pin to the upside. Looks like we retested that resistance. Same way we did the previous day. Still slightly higher than we were the previous day, but it looks like we're going to get a nice little breakdown. And still, in my opinion, that's the direction we're going, which again will be bullish for stocks. And looking at the MACD here, you can see that's still accelerating to the downside, which again should be bullish for stocks. So I'm still expecting more bullish price action. Not exactly sure when, nobody knows exactly when, but right now, the way that junk bonds mixed with the VIX, mixed with the price structure on most of the indices, it seems like we're going to go higher, at least in the short term. Moving over to my current positions, you can see Roth did not do very well today. IWM was down quite a bit more than the other indices. Individual did okay, made a couple $100 there, so balanced out to $127 today. Not terrible. Definitely good to make money on the day where the markets were down. Fortunately, I had that good trade in LULU, closed that trade desk position for basically break even. And then those two puts that I had the previous day, I closed them a little bit early, probably could have made more money on those, but I did reopen puts for Friday at a lower strike. You can see I actually have 3 puts here at significantly lower strikes than we had going into today. So I'm trying to average down a little bit just to protect myself. I still think we're going higher across the markets. But this put right here is where I struggled. I was able to roll it out and down 1 strike for basically where it was at in terms of a loser. So this used to be a 175 expiring today. It was down about $200, and I rolled that out in time for basically the same price to 174 for Friday. So we'll see what happens there. I also rolled out this covered call just to collect a little bit more credit here. So I have about $2 more credit to collect on that covered call. Hopefully the stock rallies and I can let this covered call get executed, and then I can get executed on this put. Or the stock rallies and I don't get executed on either and I collect all of the credits. That's always the best case scenario, but having to do a little bit more managing here in IWM as it did fall more than I expected. And that's about it. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Make sure you comment down below if there's anything you want me to, if there's any charts that you want me to go over, or any stocks that I should be trading. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.